Hi everyone, and welcome to this Father's Day brief live broadcast. So fantastic to be with you here today on Father's Day. Such an important day. I've heard calls from some people to say, during this current crisis of ours with all the gender-based violence, should we even celebrate Father's Day? And I said to them, we need to celebrate it doubly, in the sense that the reason so much bad stuff is happening throughout our nation and even around the world is a lack of fathers. So the reason and the need to celebrate fathers is just even more greater than ever before. Young boys look to their fathers to model what it means to be a good man. And in the absence of a father, there's no modeling of what it means to be a man. So you and I as dads, we play an absolutely crucial role. And I really want to just shout out to the dads, just to say congratulations. Those dads that are present, engaged, and doing the very best that they can, congratulations. Without doubt, you are the most important man in your children's lives, both in your daughters and your sons' lives. The most important man. And how you live your life and how you father them will have a significant and huge impact on their future, on their well-being, on their success, on their success in life and love and relationships. So dads, don't be discouraged. Keep it up. Keep being that great father. Thank you for all the questions you guys have been receiving. I asked dads to send their most burning dad question. One of the funny responses I got, I said, send your most burning dad questions. So one guy obviously didn't quite get what we were saying. He said, what is burning dad? But I got some fantastic questions. So really appreciate you guys and all your questions. I'm gonna respond to 3 of those today because we've got a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to use that to do a series of live broadcasts around just answering these great questions, because kids don't come with a manual, and us as men, we often don't like to ask for help. But it's so amazing when we form a band of brothers and we know that there are men that have gone before us that have made the mistakes that we don't have to make, and they've learned things that we can learn from them. And it's just a beautiful thing to be part of a bunch of guys, a bunch of men, a band of brothers that can walk with each other and help each other to get this thing called masculinity, manhood, and fatherhood right, because it's such a crucial role. So happy Father's Day, guys, and high fives and hats off to you for being there and being present and just desiring to be a great father. There are a couple of questions that I want to respond to. The first one here is from Chris, and he says, hi, as a father of 2 kids, aged 10 and 7, I'd like to know how to not let stress about financial issues and what is currently happening in the world not get to my kids. I don't want them to feel stressed because of me being stressed. Chris, that's such a fantastic question and such a relevant one for the time we're going through. As a father, I have found being a father the most inspirational thing, the most inspiring thing ever, to be the best man that I can be, because kids need you. And this particular question, I'm crumbling inside, I'm feeling tremendous stress and strain, there's uncertainty, fear, I may lose my job, I may have already lost my job. What I do to make sure my kids don't feel the brunt of this. And there's an element to being a father where we need to be that solid rock. I'll never forget, I went through a divorce, which is not ideal at all for kids. And I was a single dad for quite some time. And just after my divorce, my son Luke was 11 years old. He's a big, strong, strapping lad. And he used to often fall asleep, but then walk along the corridor and creep into my bed at night and just hold on to me. And I tell you what, even though I was going through a really, really tough time, I realized that he was looking to me for strength, to be that rock. And there was an element there, there's a time and place for us as dads to really be vulnerable and to show our fear, and maybe to our partners or to other men. But there's also a time to put on that warrior face and to really say, I'm gonna shield my kids. I don't know if you saw that movie, A Beautiful Life. It's a lovely movie. It's about I'm not even sure if it's a true story, but it's about an Italian guy who was captured and held in one of the Nazi German concentration camps. But his son, he managed to sneak his son in with him because his son had no alternative. And he played a game. He played a game to make this okay for his son. And his son managed to get through the whole thing, thinking this was some kind of a game. So I think as fathers, we need to be real, but we also need to realize that we are the rock that our kids look to for just calm in times of storm. So what we present to them, and particularly the younger they are. The older they are, the more open and real we can get to them. When they start to get to their mid-teenage years, we can say, gee, this is a tough time, But we need to constantly reassure them that I'm okay, even if you don't feel okay. It's not a lie, because there's an element of you that's going to push forward and push through and make this happen. If we define ourselves by the car we drive, the money we have, then we begin to crumble. And when we crumble, our kids see that. But if we define ourselves, it doesn't matter what car I drive. It doesn't matter how much money we've got, as long as we are surviving. And he is the father, I want to make sure we do survive. That's the fight, that's the battle. So there's a time to put on that warrior face and be the rock and safe place and stable environment for your son and your daughter. And I think that's so crucial for us to do. Lee sent a beautiful question. And Lee, I see you're here. Welcome. How do I discipline my boys in love without breaking them down? Letting them know that I love them and that I'm disciplining them because I love them and not because I want to punish them or get even. Fantastic question. Discipline is such a key thing. And I think what I'll do is do a whole broadcast just on discipline. But Lee, just to kick off is, number one, we need to earn the right emotionally to discipline our kids. We've got the right as parents, but we need to earn the right emotionally, which means the more you love your kids, hang out with them, engage with them, see them, know them, be that father that really knows and sees and understands and validates them, the more you develop that relationship. And funny enough, the same applies in a work environment. The more you've developed personal power with your colleagues and employees, the more they respect you and love you and would go the extra mile for you, the far easier it is to bring rules and regulations to them. Same with kids. The more you've earned that emotional right, love, care, be there, listen to them, see them, understand their issues, you then have the right to discipline. And what happens is, the more your kids love you, the more your approval matters to them. And so the less extreme you need to be in the way you discipline them. I remember with my daughter Blythe, we had such a beautiful, and myself, we had such a beautiful relationship. I would just raise my voice and she would crumble, because being approved by her daddy was so important, because I had managed to establish this beautiful relationship with her. So once you've got that relationship, and I'm pretty sure you do with your kids, where there's just a deep sense of love, they know that you're acting out of love. And whenever you do something, you raise your voice and say something, they know it's not just dad being a strict dad. It's dad loving and caring them. So you come from that base of love. The second thing is to be consistent, absolutely consistent. If you don't change your mind and don't change the rules or don't shift the goalposts, and there must be consequences. If you say to your son, hey, if you do that, I'm going to ground you. And he does that, and you think, oh, gee, I wish I hadn't said that because I don't want to ground him. And you change your mind, then they're never going to take you seriously. So what you say is what you do. So it means thinking carefully about the rules you set and about the consequences to those rules. So if you say something, do it, follow through, even if it's difficult to do that. I'm not a great believer in giving physical hidings. I never once gave my daughter a hiding. I just didn't feel right. I think in my son's life, I gave him 2 hidings. But there are many ways of disciplining a kid. The whole saying that says, spare the rod, spoil the child. I completely believe that. But that rod doesn't have to be a physical hiding. It can be taking away privileges. It can be grounding. It can be restricting. There's so many different ways to do it. But the key is, and this is another key, is to agree with your partner on the disciplining measures you're going to take. So you need to sit down and chat, because often kids, they're clever. They'll say, oh, dad said I can do that, or mom said, and they play you off against each other. So you need to really be, as a father and as a mother, this common front, this team that agrees with each other, so that they can't play one off against the other. And that's key. I think the final thing around anger is never, ever, ever discipline in anger. Always let your anger calm down. So calm down, and once you do discipline, whatever form of discipline you choose to take, let it be done out of once you've calmed down. Often we lash out just because, gee, they're pissing us off. And I think particularly in times like this, when we all stuck together in one household and there's a lot of confinement, it's easy to get quite irritable and irritated. So let the anger subside, stick to the agreed rules, be consistent and fair, and let them know that this is out of love. One of the mistakes a lot of fathers make is they want to be, or tend to be, their children's friend before father, and that's a big mistake. way before friends, we are fathers to our children. And sometimes that means being unpopular. If we want to always be the popular dad, it doesn't mean you're going to be a great dad, because there will come times when you have to make decisions that your kids are not going to be happy with, or hold back privileges from them, or things they'd like to do that are not, that's going to make you unpopular. And that's okay. You need to be prepared to be unpopular, because it's not about us. It's about us creating an environment for our kids. And remember that children operate with the most degree of security and freedom when they have very clear parameters. We need to really set parameters for our kids. Never parameters on who they are, on their identity, but very much parameters on their behavior that are age appropriate, so that as they grow up with a sense of discipline, with a sense of boundaries, and with a sense of security, because they know what the rules are. They know the kind of world they're operating in. There's no uncertainty and there's no changing. So I hope that's a bit of a ramble, but I hope that answers some of your questions about disciplining with love, so that they know deeply that you love them. The third question I'll touch on today is by Hopolang, and a very, very good question, Hopolang, thank you. He says, how does one prepare their son, particularly sons, in being a good, caring man in a country filled and plagued by gender-based violence? I tell you, it's so sad to even having to answer that question, but in today's world we do. Hopolang, the key is to model the way. It starts with you. Young boys look to their fathers to show them how to be a man. Masculinity is imparted by an older man to a younger man. This is our responsibility as men. We cannot expect women to teach boys how to be men, because they aren't men. They look to us as men to show them what it means to be a man. And the number one key, the number one weapon in our arsenal is to model the way, is to be the man that you want him to become. And also to be the man that you want your daughter to marry one day. That's a challenge, if you as a dad say to yourself, I'm going to live the life that, to be the man that I'd be so happy for my daughter to marry one day. How's that for a challenge, In terms of what I look at, what I say, what I do, is that the man that you want your daughter to marry? If we are that man, what happens then is our son looks up to us and he sees a man who loves and respects and who cares and who uses his strength well to make sure that women are safe, that children are safe, that he stands up against the things he needs to stand up, that he speaks out against the things he needs to speak out. And I tell you what, that boy is going to look at you and he's going to say, that's how men treat women, and I'm going to most likely copy that. So this key is to, how do you treat his mom? How do you speak to her? How do you respect her and love her? How do you speak about other women? How do you treat other women? How are you as a man to women generally? If you're driving in a car, just take a silly example. If you're driving in a car and your son's sitting with you and someone cuts you off in the traffic and she happens to be a woman, you say, oh, stupid woman driver. Immediately what you're saying to your son, you're encouraging to see women as stupid drivers or bad drivers. We begin to create the sense of men and women, animosity between men and women, and maybe men are better than women and women are like this. But if we as a man are able to treat women as equal and co-partners in this world and to love and respect them, your son is going to follow that. He's watching you. He's watching your every move. Even though you don't know he's watching and you don't see him watching all the time, he's watching you. And our greatest tool for training our sons to be good men is to be a good man ourselves. And if you do that, I'm telling you something, it's very unlikely that he's going to go astray and become a man that's perpetuating the kind of things we're seeing today in this country. I want to just end off this brief broadcast, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them live. But just to talk about the two most important words in a father's dictionary. I have a daughter who's now 23 years old, and when she was 7 years old, we were living in Johannesburg, and I got a job offer in Knysna to go and run a company called Outward Bound, and we took it with open hands. And so we moved down to Knysna, and my family moved 2 weeks ahead of me. I still had some stuff that I needed to finish up and complete in Joburg, but we got a house sorted out and everything, and they moved 2 weeks ahead of me. So one week into this 2 week period where I was here in Johannesburg finishing up some stuff and they were in Knysna, I was on the phone to my daughter Blythe, 7 years old, and I said to her, I was all excited, I said, oh Blythe, isn't life beautiful by the sea, expecting her to say, "Yeah, Dad, it is," And she said the strangest thing. These were her exact words. She said, "If this was my life, I would scream." And I got such a fright. I thought, "What's happening? What's wrong?" I said, "What's wrong, my precious?" And she said words that just brought tears to my eyes and just struck me. She said, "Because you're not here, Daddy. Because you're not here, Daddy." And it just melted my heart. And I realized there and then that the two most important words in a child's dictionary, in a father's dictionary, in your child's life, are these words: be there. Be there. And for us as fathers, our greatest challenge and our greatest need that our kids have is our presence. Not what we give to them, not the gifts we give them, but our presence, our being present in their lives. And this means being present in the mundane moments. It means present when you're making sandwiches for them in the morning. It means present when they fall asleep at night. I mean, to the best of our ability. I know some guys are working away from families, and of course there's an exception. Some guys are divorced and their kids are not with them. And I'll talk about that now briefly. But this issue of being present and engaged in your children's lives is the most important thing in your life as a dad. It's the starting point. If you're present and engaged, you're not 80% of the way to being a fantastic father. Be present at the important moments, the soccer match and the piano recital. Be there. And for divorced dad, I was a divorced dad, and for a while didn't live in the same city even as my kids. But you can still be present. You can still get on the phone every single day, even if it's for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. You can still send WhatsApp messages. You can FaceTime them. There's so much that we can do to be present in our children's lives, even if we're not physically with them. It's about being emotionally engaged. It's about listening to them and hearing them. It's not just about speaking. It's about getting on the phone when there's no other distractions around you and tuning into them, being present and engaged. I tell you what, that's the number one tool of being a great father. Be there. So I'm going to say goodbye on this Father's Day, so that you can go for it and enjoy time with your family. But if there are any questions, please shout. And as I said, I'll be doing a number of live broadcasts, just receiving your questions and answering them on live broadcast. And keep those questions coming, guys. It's wonderful to hear from you. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic Father's Day and keep being a great dad. Be there, be present, be engaged, and be the man that you want your daughter to marry one day. Be the man that you want your son to become one day. Thank you so much.